Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is actually a request from someone. I love seeing your guys' requests here on YouTube and also on Instagram. Feel free to always ask me to do, a video on a subject you want to see. And I promise that the bookshelf tour will be happening. Maybe not anytime soon, but my life is a mess, my bookshelves are a mess, so I need to get everything in order before I start filming that. But I promise I will be doing one. But today, this video will be about choosing my top favorite books by my top favorite authors. I love this topic, but I also kind of hate it just because for some of these authors, it's going to be so hard to narrow down that one favorite book. For some of these authors, it's like no hesitation, 100% it's that book, that's my favorite. But for some others, I have to choose between 2 or 3. I wanted to go through the process of choosing that favorite book, thinking why I love that book the most. It was already hard narrowing down this author list itself, but I do kind of want to do even more videos like this. I have a whole bunch of authors that I left out just because I don't have time to do all of them in one video. So I might end up doing a part 2 or part 3. We'll just see how this goes. So let's start off with a not so very easy author, Penelope Douglas. These are my top favorite books of hers. Normally I would say Bully is my favorite, but at the same time I'm obsessed with Corrupt and Birthday Girl. I reread Birthday Girl so many times. Bully I haven't reread in a very long time, and plus it's young adult-ish. I mean new adult, but it's set in high school and I don't read that too often. It's not my favorite. Birthday Girl is age gap, forbidden romance, falling for your boyfriend's dad, Corrupt, dark romance, epic, awesome, very intense, very sexy. I think it's borderline erotic romance. So Bully was the one that started it all for me. I got it when it was a freebie on a Kindle as an indie book. It was one of the first books that I ever reviewed on my blog. I have the shirt that I wore in my Enemies to Lovers romance video. Jared still owns my heart. I love him so much. I love Tate too. But at the same time, I love rereading Corrupt. I actually re-listened to Corrupt multiple times. I love the narration and I love just being back in this world. I love the Four Horsemen. Michael is definitely my favorite still. But then again, I reread Birthday Girl a lot. I love the angst in this one, the forbiddenness, the tension, the chemistry. It is so hot. The scenes at the end always get to me. I really want to choose Bully just because that one is the OG. But I think story-wise, my absolute favorite is Birthday Girl. I love the main characters, I love the age gap, I love how mature the heroine is. Pike is a sweetheart of a hero. I love Daddy Pike. I mean, he can get down and dirty when he needs to, but at the same time, he just loves and cherishes Jordan so much. He wants to do everything and give her everything and make her so happy. I just love that. So I'm choosing Birthday Girl as my top favorite book of Penelope Douglas. At least so far. For this next author, it was fairly easy to choose. It was between 2 books, but ultimately choosing this one was pretty much the only choice for me, and that is Penny Reid. And I chose Dating-ish. This is part of her Knitting in the City series. I have both editions. This book is just so perfectly well written. I love Marie, I love Matt, I love the sciencey parts of it, I love the friends to lovers. I love that they try not to fall for each other and they think, that they're not falling for each other, but of course they are. There's always one scene that sticks out to me whenever I think of this book, and that's when Matt and Marie go to like a touch instructor, kind of like a yoga instructor, but they teach and instruct how to touch, and that's when you can definitely tell how much they want each other, like the tension as they're touching. Even platonically is just so charged, and Matt has her hand on her thigh and it's very possessive feeling. Oh, I just love it so much. Matt is a total nerdy hero. He has beta and alpha tendencies. So yeah, love this book. Love that Marie is connected with Abram in the Laws of Physics series. We get to see a lot of her in that one. So yeah, no question, Dating-ish is my favorite. Kristen Becca Ritchie wrote my all-time favorite new adult series, the Addicted series. And my favorite still is Kiss the Sky. This one is Connor and Rose's first book. This was one of the few times that I gave a 6-star rating on my blog. I am obsessed with this book. Connor and Rose are like the smartest people ever, and they always go head to head. It's kind of enemies to lovers, but not really. Rose kind of hates Connor because he's always beating her at things, but you can definitely tell that Connor is very much into Rose, wants to be with her. They've known each other since high school. They have a very big history together, always competing. Rose is a boss-ass bitch. She can take over the world anytime she wants. They are just so explosive together. I love Connor so much. He's still one of my favorite heroes of all time. He's pretty kinky too. And in this book, they're basically, their whole family is on reality TV, and they have to deal with that along with their growing romance. Connor believes that he's unfeeling, you know, incapable of love, but of course Rose shows him differently. My next author is Mia Sheridan. I love Mia Sheridan's books. I love her writing. I think it's beautiful. I started off reading her Sign of Love series. Each book is a total standalone, and I enjoyed Archer's Voice. I know everyone loves that book the most. That one was good, but I didn't love it as much as everyone else did. But the book, well, books that got me so in love with Mia Sheridan and becoming, you know, a longtime fan of hers is Becoming Calder and Finding Eden. This is a duet, not standalones. You have to read these in order. They follow one couple, and it is such a beautiful, beautiful love story. So the main characters actually grew up in a cult. It's very off the grid, you know, no technology. They have no knowledge of the outside world. Eden and Calder find this beautiful, beautiful love with each other, but of course it's not that easy. So both books deal with their time growing up in the cult, their struggles there, as well as them dealing with living in the modern outside world. They're torn apart, but then back together. It is so intense, so angsty, so beautiful. It was an unforgettable duet. I couldn't put this series down, and my absolute favorite from Mia Sheridan. Next up is a huge author in the indie community, although she's also traditionally published, and that is Kristen Ashley. Night is my absolute favorite. This was an easy one to choose. I think this was my very first book of hers. I was looking to read more erotic romance, and of course I came across the Unfinished Hero series. At that time, I think only the first 2 or 3 books were out, and I was like 15, 16, getting very into erotica. But yeah, I love this book. I know a lot of people don't, just because it has daddy kink, which, I mean, I understand it's not for everyone, but if you're okay with that, read this book. I got the signed copy from the Ripped Bodice. I had to grab it as soon as I saw it on the shelf. Night is one of Kristen Ashley's most alpha heroes ever. It's not too overbearing like some of her other heroes, but I mean, just the right amount to get your wheels going. I love how into Anya Night is. As soon as he meets her, he sees like the good that she is and wants to claim it. He's rich, he's gorgeous. I mean, what's not to love about Night? I also love the audiobook too. I love the narrator. She's one of my favorites. It's also one of the few audiobooks that I love re-listening to. Next is Kresley Cole, and my all-time favorite book of hers is The Master. I originally read the first book, The Professional, and I didn't love it. It was okay, it was kind of meh, but then I read this book and it blew my mind. It's erotic romance, so hot, so sexy. I mean, Kresley Cole writes sexy scenes in general, but this one is beyond anything. I love Maxim. He's like related to the Russian mafia. He's also filthy rich. Kat is the escort that Maxim hires. It's Kat's first time. She's on the run from her insane husband. They become lovers. It gets really kinky. Maxim definitely has an obsessive kind of love. He wants to claim Kat. He doesn't want her to be with anyone else. These two are explosive together. If you want a really steamy book, this is the book to go to. I also really love the third book, The Player. It's up there somewhere, but this one is my absolute favorite. If you know me, you know I love Sarah MacLean. She's one of my favorite historical romance authors. She definitely got me more into the historical romance genre, and these two books are my favorite books of hers. They are tied, but I'm gonna force myself to choose just one. So The Day of the Duchess is a second chance romance. It is angst filled, which I love. Lots of groveling, which I also love. One Good Earl Deserves a Lover is wonderful. I love the nerdy heroine. The hero himself is very intelligent. One Good Earl was the book that made me obsessed with Sarah MacLean. I love this book so much. I have like paragraphs long review of it on my blog. But this one is like one of my favorite angsty books, and I live for angst. But I'm gonna go with One Good Earl Deserves a Lover as my top favorite Sarah MacLean, just because I love Pippa so much. She's one of my favorite heroines ever. She's quiet but so smart, so headstrong, very passionate about science. If you couldn't tell, I love my dorky nerdy heroines. So One Good Earl is my favorite. Christina Lauren was so easy to choose. My favorite is one of their older books. It is still my favorite. Every book after that has not quite lived up to it. Love in Other Words was close, but not quite. And that is Beautiful Player. I love this Friends to Lovers book so much. It's also like a falling for the older brother's best friend slash, you know, best friend's younger sister. Will and Hannah are my absolute favorite couple of Christina Lauren's. They're just so entertaining together. Like, I still remember the scene where Will was devastated over Hannah's boob reduction. Cracks me up every time. And also the toy Jesus scene, so funny. The book is laugh out loud funny, but also so sweet, so heartwarming, and very sexy. I also have the cute little mass market paperback that's in color, and here it is. I had to go grab it for my mass market paperback shelf. I like this cover. It's interesting seeing it in full color. So Tessa Bailey is one of my all-time favorites. I've pretty much read every single one of her books. She has quite a backlist. If you love dirty talk, read her books. And my absolute favorite, without a doubt, is Risking It All. This book is book 1 in the Crossing the Line series. I had to grab this after it released, after I first read it. I had to own it in paperback, a physical copy, because I love it so much. It's the perfect embodiment of a bad boy and good girl romance. Bowen pretty much thinks of Sarah as his angel. Bowen is still my favorite Tessa Bailey hero ever. Sarah is an undercover NYPD cop, and Bowen is involved in crime, underground crime. So it's almost star-crossed lovers. I just love them so much. Bowen is so swoon-worthy. He will do anything and everything for Sarah, who he calls Ladybug. This is still my absolute top favorite of Tessa Bailey's, and if you haven't read it, please do. My top favorite Nalini Singh book is in my top favorite series of hers, the Side Changeling series, and that is Heart of Obsidian. This one I can't really talk too much about. Last time I spoiled the main character, someone got mad at me. But yeah, this book is meant for you to not know who the main characters are until you start this book, and it is book 12 in the series, so you have quite a way to go, but swear it is all so worth it once you get to Heart of Obsidian. It's still my absolute favorite of the series, my top favorite book of Nalini Singh's. The romance is awe-inspiring, so mind-blowing. I love them so much, and I live for all the scenes that they show up in future books. Just know that it's a dark hero who falls for an amazing heroine who he knows he's not good enough for, but he is with anyway. If you've seen my paranormal romances video, then you know Rage is my love from J.R. Ward. This is book 2 in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, and still my favorite, my top favorite of J.R. Ward's for sure. And it's 100% because of Rage. The vampire who can occasionally turn himself into this huge huge scary monster. Rage is incredibly beautiful, Mary is not, but he sees the beauty in her anyway. I just love this one. It was heart-wrenching at times. I mean, I know people love Lover Awakened, Zadis's story most, but this one is just my favorite. Obviously, Mariana Zapata is on this list, and you might have already guessed that Culty is my top favorite book of hers. It is mind-blowingly good. Enemies to friends to lovers, sucker romance, age gap, so well written, deliciously slow burn. It's long, but this book to me, every single scene is so important to the development of the story, and I just love them too. I've reread this book so many times. I've listened to it in audio too, so I practically have this book memorized. Sal, Culty, Sal's friends, her family, they're just such amazing characters, so well developed. I read this 500-600 book in a day. I literally couldn't put it down. I was reading as soon as I woke up, and then I finished by the time dinner came. And then I immediately texted the friend who told me to read this, and she holds that over my head forever for telling me to read my favorite book of all time. So thanks for that, Michelle. I had to include Tiffany Rice. She's my favorite erotic romance author ever. My favorite BDSM author ever. She makes BDSM something that I want to be into. And this is the one time that I'm gonna cheat and include a series. I mean, the duet is kind of a series, but it's only 2 books. But this one is 8 books long. Technically, you can just read 4 of them, but that is the original Sinner series. It is erotica to the max, not erotic romance, because it's not really like heroine falls for the hero. There's not really a central love story. It is romantic and there are multiple love stories, but the end romance is very unconventional. But I promise there is a happily ever after, just not quite what you expect. I read the series pretty late. All 8 books were already out, which I was so thankful for. Technically, the series is split up in 2 parts, the first 4 books and then the last 4 books. The first 4 books follow the Red years, taking place in present time. Nora, the main character, our heroine, is a total badass. I love her. She is the kind of woman that I want to be when I grow up. She is a writer and teacher by day and a dominatrix by night. These books are not really standalones. You kind of have to read all 4 books, or you can read the next 4 books on its own. But as soon as you read one, you'll probably want to read all of them. They are so good. This cast of characters is amazing, totally unforgettable. A huge part of the series is about religion, and it's just so beautifully intertwined with the erotic aspects of it, of BDSM. It's just so crazy. I don't know how Tiffany Rice did it, but it is so good, so amazing. I got my Catholic friend to read it and she loved it, so I took it as a win. I'm still working on Jessica, Peace Love Books. She is also Catholic, and it pretty much made me a fan of Tiffany Rice for life. I adore Samantha Young. I especially love her older books. I haven't read too much of her newer ones, although I did love Fight or Flight. But my all-time favorite book of hers is still On Dublin Street, the book that got her super popular, the one that, you know, everyone loved. It's sexy, intense, tension-filled. I love Joss, I love Brayden, and I love these cast of characters. Pretty much everyone gets their own story in the rest of the series, but this one is my absolute favorite. I also, a long time ago, won the indie copy of it, signed. I love it, treasure it so much. This is the original cover. I think I also own this one, an ebook with the original cover, and this one is the one she published with Berkeley. Next up is Colleen Hoover. I read almost every one of her books. I still haven't read Verity and Without Merit. I'll get to those eventually. I'm not in a super big hurry just because both books don't really have topics that I'm that interested in. I'm more of a fan of her older books, and my favorite book of all time of hers is Hopeless. Also Losing Hope, but I mean, they're companion books. This is about the hero's point of view. This one is the original heroine's point of view. This book, these characters were just so unforgettable. I love Skye, I love Holder. It's new adult, mature, young adult. It is set in high school. I love the romance, but at the same time, I love everything outside of the romance. And also Losing Hope made me bawl like 3 freaking times. I do really love Slam 2, the Slam series. It's the series that that, you know, got me so in love with Colleen Hoover. It was one of my first indie new adult books, and I just have so much love for Colleen Hoover for that. And last on my list, just because I don't want this video to go on for too long, so do expect part 2 for more of my favorite authors and my favorite books from them. This was not at all easy to choose. Alona Andrews, one of my favorite authors of all time. First of all, I have to choose between the Kate Daniel series and the Hidden Legacy series, and then I have to choose my favorite book in that series. These two, I am going to choose just one, but just saying, these two are my favorites in the series. Magic Strikes is book 3 in the Kate Daniel series, and White Hot is book 2 in the Hidden Legacy series. I got to meet Alona Andrews, Gordon, and Alona at the Roped Bodice a couple years ago, and I still remember when Alona talked about the ice penis on the cover of White Hot, and when she told me about that, I can't unsee it now. So that's all I see. These covers are kind of atrocious for the series. They haven't had the best luck for covers, honestly. They don't look really that great, but it's the inside that counts. And for Alona Andrews, I think I'm gonna have to go with Magic Strikes, just because Kate Daniel series edges out Hidden Legacy just by a little bit. It is epic, it's urban fantasy, but there's a really good strong central romance in it between Kate and Curran. Kate is a badass sword-wielding mercenary. Curran is a shapeshifter, a lion shapeshifter, and pretty much the alpha of the shapeshifters. Theirs is such a good slow burn romance. You don't really get too deep in the romance until book 3 in this one, and then it culminates more in book 4. That one is my second favorite of the series, but Magic Strikes just blew my mind. Like, the first book in the series was good. It's 4 stars. I didn't love it, but it's a really great start to a series. Lots of world building, lots of info dumping. Book 2 was even better. I was definitely more into the series, more invested in these characters, but then I got to book 3 and it blew my mind. There's some epic battle towards the end of this, and it's just so good, so addicting. I love all of these characters too, all these secondary characters, Kate and Curran's friends. They're hilarious, and they pick on Kate all the time. They pick on Kate and Curran's romance too. I just need people, everyone, to read the Kate Daniel series. It is one of the best series of all time. Probably my favorite urban fantasy series ever. I mean, I talk a lot about it in my urban fantasy video. Go check that one out. But as for my favorite, I'm gonna go with Magic Strikes. So that is it for now for my all-time favorite books from my all-time favorite authors. I have so many of them. It was really hard to narrow down just these first bunch, but I'm really excited to do even more of this at a later date. Let me know what you guys think. Are these your top picks for these authors, or do you have another top favorite book of theirs? I would love to hear it. As always, I'll include links to these books in the description below. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye.